Elden Ring is managing to bring so many aspects of what made FromSoft's games popular since the release of Demon's Souls. The difficulty, the world building, and weird NPCs are all here mixed up with a completely new type of open and expansive world. Well, for FromSoft anyway. At 8 hours in, I have not even taken on the first boss that you are directed to. Instead, I have been traversing from one striking landmark to another in a similar Breath of the Wild sense, gathering everything I can from the world that it can offer. But there is something else directing my gameplay also. Lore. One quick note before I get into the concept of the video. I will be discussing some of the basic concepts that exist in Elden Ring, as well as showing gameplay from the first couple of hours or so, although I won't be going deep into any of these aspects in particular. I've never really been interested enough to read the item descriptions in any of these games. Never looked at the lore but to take to YouTube and allow other scholars of various sins to tell me the story. The world that was described to me always managed to be evocative and additive to what I was playing. It managed to bring a whole other world to these games, one elucidated by adding together the evidence that exists within them. What was a visual oddity on first inspection, something distinctly weird in these worlds that does not quite make sense, is transformed into a piece of storytelling or lore that tends to be deeply effective and well written. I described this process in my recent Bloodborne video, but I want to give another example. King Vendrick in Dark Souls 2. He's just a shuffling giant weirdly plastered on the landscape, in the depths of a castle Drangleic. But with the revealing light of lore, he becomes a sad king who took to war and conquest to another land, ending in his own sacrifice to protect his own. In many games, lore is just a part of the process of fleshing out these worlds that we inhabit. The overly wealthy billionaire adding another wing to his mansion. The house already exists, is whole and functional, the wing just adds another part to it. Lore functions on the peripheries. It's supplemental, but often not necessary. I remember thinking that the fact that there were so many books in Oblivion suggested such an expansive world. Go and actually read any of them, they are poor. FromSoft differs here. It centres lore as one of the major forms of storytelling that is used. You have some direct plot beats in the game, a direct story, but so much that builds out of the world is not that. Take the Erd Tree for example. It's something that exists in the background of Elden Ring, at least in the beginning. It is unavoidable. But I'm slowly starting to form a background story to it, about it being a central part in the religious order of the world. In the past a part of great miracles, it now looms over the world powerless and instead an object of veneration. And when you take this and combine it with many of the other factions and people that exist in this world, it creates such a fleshed out and interesting place. And I'm just 8 hours in, all of this may be proven out to be wrong, or a part of speculation on my side, or just a myth in the world of Elden Ring. All of this exists in small lines of dialogue, in weapon text, all on the peripheries and optional. But this is what I'm advocating, the lore playthrough. I know some others will be doing it and it's not unusual, but create a database, get out a notebook, make notes and trawl through it. Have playful theories about the world and try to expand on them. And there is a good reason for this too. When you are dealing with a large open world that has a lot of player-directed experience within it, it can become easy to become lost. In modern games we frequently have the trappings of quest markers, design landscapes that push you in certain directions, and levelled areas that can cut off any player adventure. If the game is smart, then these built-in experienced directors tend to be softer. Think of Breath of the Wild. In that game I choose a direction with my telescope and I go. Even if every time I restart it I seem to end up taking the same path for the first 10 hours. You see, the experience is subtly directed in a certain direction. These games that I'm speaking about either direct you with a heavy hand or soft suggestion, or at least that's what I've come to expect. And Elden Ring definitely has a foot in the latter, but it doesn't seem to have the same deft design of Breath of the Wild. You can feel a little lost at times. This is where lore comes in. It's become a motivating factor in itself for me. Yeah, I want to beat the boss, yeah, I want to gain some levels, but each piece of exploration I do unlocks some new item or area that is allowing me to piece together the nature of the world. I'm getting a better sense of the stakes of the world, of the players in it and how I fit into this as an active participant. There are whole structures in the world that have a sense of place and history that you wouldn't get without this. There are names referenced in place names and such that you can actually start to form what they are, who they are, and why they're there. It creates this engagement as an archaeologist, gathering evidence to piece together a narrative of the actual place itself. We all find different motivations to play the games we do. Souls have always been the difficult combat and exploration for me. It has been the learning what is directly presented. But again and again I hear of this amazing story that exists in the background, and this is your and my opportunity to take that and have a look at it. A couple of suggestions from being a few hours into this type of gameplay, because they're small pointers on how to do it, would have been helpful going in. What I've done is create a database and then basically make notes on everything, any proper nouns or proper names of places. You can be sure that if something is referenced and has capitalised names, that it is something that exists in this world. And that was the thing that always tricked me about earlier Souls games. When An Orlando is referenced in an earlier text when you're miles away from being in that place in the first Dark Souls, you can think it completely supplemental. That's how lore tends to be treated in games. But it's not, it's a place you'll go, it's a story that you're living. So take the item descriptions and each of the names of the places as places that will go, or at least exist in the grander scope of the world. Trust me, I'm getting so much more from this game because of this. That's going to be it for today. My name's been Billy, thank you for watching, goodbye.